You're listening to the Vox Media Podcast Network.
This is What the Heck with Mike Heck on MMAfighting.com. Now, here is your host, Mike Heck.
What the heck?
Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of What the Heck here on MMAfighting.com. My name is Mike Heck. Thank you so much for watching and listening this week. As MMA just continues to be crazy, there is a lot going on in the world of mixed martial arts. So many events that you guys and gals could check out this week and this weekend. A couple of offerings from CFFC. We got Brave 45. We got Bellator 253 tonight. One Championship has an event. Invicta FC 43 going down tomorrow night. Icon Fighting Federation 3, I believe it's the third event. LFA, UFC 255 on Saturday. Titan FC 65 on Sunday. Lexic Man, the COO of Titan FC, is fighting on Saturday night as well. There's just, and I'm sure I'm missing others as well, but just so much face punching to be watched and consumed. It's a good time to be an MMA fan. It's a rough time to be people around the world during 2020, but if you're an MMA fan, there's quite a bit to be thankful for. There's a lot of action to consume. On top of all that, we had the final Contender Series event of 2020. We saw 4 more contracts get awarded, and we even saw a potential spot on The Ultimate Fighter offered to Nick Maximoff after his win over Oscar Cota. It was just crazy to watch a man weigh 209 pounds fight a guy who is 265 pounds. Nick Maximoff, clearly the much better fighter, but just Cota's size was just way too much, and it was just a crazy fight to watch. So Maximoff was offered a spot on the upcoming Ultimate Fighter. I have talked to Maximoff's team. They're still weighing that option, whether or not they're going to accept it, because they're going to be filming for that pretty quickly. And, you know, Nick, as he said when I chatted with him last week, it's a lot. Most of his, I think all of his professional fights have been a 205. He feels like he's a natural 185er, but with filming starting pretty soon, he's going to have to fight 3 times potentially in a short amount of time. Cutting a 185 when you haven't really done it before, or at least it's been a long time, it's going to be tough. So we'll see what happens there. But listen, I love the Contender Series. There may be 5 or 6 people on Earth who enjoy the Contender Series as much as I do. I actually pay attention. I don't just watch, I don't just look at Tapology pages when I think about the Contender Series. I've interviewed a lot of these fighters when some of them were amateurs, some early on in their pro careers. So I know a lot about these guys and gals who compete. So I love it. I love it so much. I mean, and there have been people, other reporters out there who have been tweeting about it, who, they're like Patriots fans. Okay. I've been a Patriots fan since I was a little kid, right? I've been through the 1 in 15 seasons. I went through the years before Drew Bledsoe was drafted. None of you know what I'm talking about if you're not, from the United States, but I went through a lot. And then they started winning. I'm not a bandwagon fan. There are a lot of Patriots fans who are bandwagon fans. There's some bandwagon Contender Series reporters out there. There's no doubt about it. I have been a day one Contender Series mark. I love it. I always will be, but good God, I will be honest, I am happy this season is over. Even with the Fight Island break in between to try to separate things, 10 weeks is just too much. Maybe it's just the pandemic, and there's been a UFC event every Saturday for the last 6 or 7 months. Maybe it's because a couple of the shows were just so insanely ridiculous and good, with quick finish after quick finish after quick finish, highlight reel finishes. Maybe our expectations became somewhat unrealistic, but I don't know. I think the timing is perfect to sort of put a cap on the Contender Series for 2020, let it simmer again, and by the time the summer of 2021 rolls around, hopefully the world is in a better place. We'll all be fired up for it. Hopefully regional shows are back up and running around the United States and around the world, so we could see some more of these prospects that unfortunately haven't been given their opportunity because everything was shut down. But listen, if you're looking for that reality TV, maybe get to the UFC type of stuff, we got the Ultimate Fighter coming back. Who knows? I'm not all that excited for it, I'll be honest, but hopefully it gets a massive facelift. And as far as what I'm hearing in regards to Contender Series contract winners making their UFC debuts, I have spoken to some sources and that the UFC is planning on booking Jordan Levitt. I believe he's like one of the first people to get a contract on this season. Looks like he's going to be fighting Matt Wyman on December 5th. Handsome Matt Wyman looking to get back on track, taking on the surging undefeated debutante in Jordan Levitt in Las Vegas. So we'll see what happens with that. That is the plan as of right now. We got a big week for Bellator. Later on tonight, Bellator 253, like we alluded to earlier. Main event is just unbelievable. Darrion Caldwell versus AJ McKee. I know UFC 255 has the two title fights, some really intriguing matchups, but if you want to make the argument that Darrion Caldwell versus AJ McKee is the most fascinating fight of the week, you will get absolutely no argument from me on that. I cannot wait to see how that one plays out. Really outstanding matchup. Big test for AJ McKee. People have been waiting for when's he going to get that step up, and he's been getting them. But if he goes up there and beats Darrion Caldwell, whew, man, him versus Pitbull would just be unbelievable. Winner of this fight against Patricio Pitbull would be unbelievable. Really excited for this fight. Make sure you tune in, CBS Sports Network. We'll be talking a little bit more about that card a little bit later on. UFC 255, I have been singing the praise of this card for a while. It's really good. People are poo-pooing it. I'm going to keep saying it. I think it's a lot better than a lot of fans are giving it credit for. I know we don't have the massive star power. You do have Deiveson Figueiredo. He's one of the most interesting people in the sport. If you haven't seen it, our own Guilherme Cruz had an incredible conversation with Deiveson Figueiredo after he beat Joseph Benavidez to become the champion on Fight Island. It's unbelievable. You learn so much about the man in that conversation. I know the one thing that kind of holds him back is the fact that he doesn't speak English, but Backman has the chance to be a big star in the UFC. Really does, if things can just fall into place perfectly. You got Valentina Shevchenko on the card. Interesting is probably the understatement of the century with her. She's like the female James Bond, like Jose Young said on Between the Links. She's one of the greatest fighters in the world right now, male or female. It's just, this card should be getting more love, okay? Sure, the two title fights, the champions are massive favorites, especially in the Shevchenko-Maia fight. She's like almost a minus 2,000 favorite in that fight. I think Perez versus Figueiredo, champion first, pal. I think Figueiredo versus Perez is a really interesting fight. You got Brandon on Brandon, Moreno versus Royval. That's going to be bananas. Just bananas, I tell ya. I have a feeling that this card is going to be talked about in the same sentence as like a UFC 199, like a UFC 206, these under-the-radar cards that steal some thunder away from some of the bigger events because it's just so good. That could happen on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to it. So if you're a fan of the sport, don't let this, don't let the lack of star power slow you down when it comes to watching this event. I think it's going to be really good. I think there's some really good matchups. But let's get to the program. I've been rambling enough. Let's get to our guest. Wrapping us up this week, we'll talk with Ashley Yoder. She returned to the win column. Unanimous decision victory over Miranda Granger at UFC Vegas 14. Kind of a stalemate fight for a while, but then the flip switched for Ashley Yoder. She turns it on in the final round and gets a victory. First win in around 2 years or so. We'll get her reaction to the win coming up to wrap up the show this week. Former UFC lightweight champion Benson Henderson is going to join us, the second of two former UFC world champs that'll be on the program this week. He returns to action tonight. Co-main event, Bellator 253 takes on Jason Jackson. First fight since the knockout loss to Michael Chandler in August. Going back up to 170. We'll check in with Benson Smooth Henderson, who just celebrated his 37th birthday this week, a little bit later on. One guy I have wanted to interview for a long time now. I don't really call these interviews. These are more like conversations. And Ben Askren is one of those people that I've wanted to converse with for a while. So I've wanted to make this happen. Some of the fans who have followed my work for a long time, they have wanted to see it happen. And this week it finally does. It'll be part of the Apprentice One Championship Edition, but we touched on that. But we talked about, just a ton of stuff. All the things that you've been asking us, I basically asked Ben about. Maybe we get an update on his combat sports future following successful hip surgery. Is he thinking about maybe coming back to the world of mixed martial arts? It's been about a year since he announced his retirement on Ariel Helwani's MMA show. So keep it locked in for that. Ben Askren makes his What the Heck debut. The biggest star of the weekend in MMA this past weekend, Khaos Williams, will join us in around 25 minutes to recap his ferocious 30-second knockout of Abdul Razak Al Hassan in the co-main event of UFC Vegas 14. He's now 2-0, 2 finishes, 2 performance bonuses in the UFC. Just 57 total seconds of octagon time. He is a player at 170 right now. Excited to have the Ox Fighter on the program in just a little bit. But first, big weekend for the flyweights coming up, UFC 255. And who better to have on the show to talk fist fighting, flyweights, fighting careers, and more. Let us kick off this week's episode of What the Heck with the former, longtime reigning defending UFC flyweight champion, the current One Championship flyweight Grand Prix champion, one of the greatest to ever step foot in a cage, ring, any fighting surface you can think of, the one, the only, Demetrious Johnson. All right, we're being joined by the One Championship flyweight Grand Prix world champ, former longtime UFC flyweight champion, Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson, a man we unfortunately haven't seen compete in over a year because 2020 be 2020ing, and it's been a number of reasons. Most notably, we got a global pandemic going on, but happy to have one of the greatest to ever do it join us right now. You can also catch him soon on the new show, The Apprentice, One Championship Edition. DJ, good to see you, man. How are you?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this has been quite a year for all of us. You were coming off a very active 2019 campaign after the quote-unquote trade from the UFC to One Championship. You went through the Grand Prix. You won it all. Have another shiny belt for the mantle. So before we get into the here and now, you know, after spending 8 years with the WEC and the UFC, what was it like making that first walk in March of 2019 for One Championship?
It was definitely different. Obviously, traveling over to Singapore and then doing, my 10-day, where did I fight first? I fought in Japan first, that's right. Went to Japan, I think, 12 days ahead of schedule to give myself enough time to acclimate. And, making a walk and not hearing, the same music that I'm used to coming out to was a little bit different. But I had, my own intro, which is pretty dope. And I loved it, man. It's always good to experience different things.
It's been a while since you and I have spoken. It's been around 3 or so years. So forgive me if I bounce around a little bit because there's a lot of questions that I do have. I know that you've spoken about the trade and the loss to Cejudo at UFC 227. But one thing I noticed about you from our last chat compared to other interviews I've seen over the years is that you just seem much more free and happy now. Like having that long title defense streak in the UFC, you had the close fight with Henry that a lot of people thought you won. It just seems like all those pressures, the constant talk about moving up to 35, the talk about Dillashaw moving down to 25 and fighting you. It just seemed, and correct me if I'm wrong, that loss and the subsequent move to one, it just seemed like it was just what the doctor ordered. Is that accurate?
I would say so. I mean, there was a lot of stress and pressure. Obviously there's always going to be stress and pressure when you're a champion. And, it's even more pressure, when it comes to selling pay-per-view and trying to hit a certain market pay-per-view so you make more money and et cetera, et cetera. All that stuff, plays a factor. And I did my best, to, put it behind me and not worry about it. Just go out there and fight and compete, which, I did very well, I like to think. But once that all, basically lifts off my shoulders, it felt good, especially when you go over, to Asia, they respect, the size that, a 5'3" guy, because they're not very big athletes as well. And when, One Championship, it's free on television. It's on VR Live. It's also on TNT and Turner. So that's a huge relief. I mean, the last thing you want to hear after you defend a world championship and you pull off the Mighty Whiz bar is that, you only sold 195,000 pay-per-views. It's like, thanks.
Still one of the most ridiculous submissions of all time, though. That's going to go down in history forever and ever. At least you got that silver lining-wise, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, in a strange way, I feel like you're appreciated so much more now amongst the UFC fans. It seems like every couple months, like the GOAT talks come up in the UFC and the Mount Rushmore conversations come to light, and your name is always brought up. And you're doing that while still doing your own thing in another promotion. I mean, do you listen and pay attention to that chatter, all the GOAT talk? And if so, what have you made of it?
Obviously, I pay attention to it because it's all over, the feed on Twitter and Instagram and stuff. And I get tagged in it here and there. And I also get asked the question, what are my thoughts? I think it's all about perspective on people, like on a person's opinion, right? Like my GOAT, my top 5 GOATs would be different from somebody else. Or I had a buddy of mine call me the other day. He goes, you can't say John Jones is the best in the world because, it's all about character too. And I was like, well, for me, I just want to know nobody's beat him. So until somebody can beat him, then that's he's in my book. They're like, but he popped for drugs. I'm like, he still beat your ass. And so that's just my personal opinion, and it's always going to change. And that's what I was looking at. It's everybody's perspective. It's everyone's certain perspective on what they think is the greatest of all time, and it's always going to be different. Mine might be different from GSP. It might be different from Daniel Cormier. It might be different from 1,000 people, but it's my own opinion.
Israel Adesanya had his opinion. He was asked who the GOAT was, and he said you were. And I don't know if you saw that, and because that guy certainly wants to be in that conversation as the years go by, and he believes that you're the guy he's chasing. What do you think about that?
I think it's awesome. I've never had nothing but respect for Izzy, and I told him after when he did the Paula, I was like, dog, you on your way. I was like, you keep putting on a performance like that, you're gonna be on your way. I mean, the way he dismantled him, I was like, it's very rare that a fighter will do something in a fight that will make me think about certain things. And when he did the Paula, I was like, duh. I was like, simple footwork. That's the easy way to nullify Paulo Costa's, striking. How when he did to Uriah Hall, when he did to Yoel Romero, he couldn't do it to Izzy Adesanya because he used footwork. And I was like, good for you, Izzy. I was like, you know what? You impress me all the time. But now when he knocked out Paulo, I was like, yep, he's on his way. If he keeps doing that, and if he goes up to light heavyweight, and then if he goes up to heavyweight to fight John Jones, I was like, those are all the steps. And, I feel that he's going to be, he's going to be in the sport for a long time. Like, I feel he'll be champion for a long time as long as he keeps on evolving. And which I feel like he has the mindset to do that because he watches anime. Anime always keeps you, your mind fresh and keep you evolving.
There you go. True story. I know my colleague Jose Youngs will agree with you on that. So let's talk about you in the here and now, because you were supposed to compete in April against Adriano Moraes, and then the event was canceled due to COVID-19, like many other events around the world. When this was all kicking off, like, I'll admit, like, I had an eye on it, but I guess I didn't take it as seriously as I should have, obviously. But, you're trying to prepare for a fight, trying to prepare travel, etc. Did you think as you're getting ready for the fight that it would get as bad as it did, or did you see the cancellation coming?
Nope. I thought the fight was going to get canceled. I had my flights booked. We were ready to go. I was training. We were ready to go. Then it was supposed to be in China. Then it got switched to Jakarta. And obviously, my coach, he knew, he saw the writing on the wall because, he's just been through, he has more wisdom. He has more years on me. So he was like, dude, it ain't going to happen. They're going to shut down international travel, which they did. And, the fight got postponed. And it is what it is. I've always been a type of athlete or the person where if it's something I can't control, then I just put it in the back of my mind. Like, I'm just like, screw it. When people are like, when you fighting? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. Until they send me a contract or this pandemic is over with, then I'll start worrying about, when I'm going to fight again. I mean, today is the last day. The gyms are open. We're going back down on lockdown, quarantine for 4 weeks. So, I mean, just like that, everything gets shut down again.
So nothing else kind of came across your desk in terms of another fight once one started getting events back on the books, or just once April was done, you're kind of off the radar for the time being?
Yeah, I was off the radar for the time being. Obviously, all international traveling got shut down. So everything that I do in One Championship is over in Asia. Singapore, Manila, Japan, you name it, that's international travel. So once that got shut down, your boy was put on ice.
I know you don't like to focus on things you can't control, but is there like a part of you deep down that's worried that it could be another year, maybe even longer before you get the chance to fight again?
It's possible. Absolutely, it's possible. But, I try to keep myself busy, with homeschool the kids. I homeschool as much as I can. I mean, I'm basically relearning all types of stuff, learning about the scientific method, the continents. I'm basically living my role as a father. So every morning I wake up, I cook breakfast for the family, wash dishes, and then we start school at 9 a.m. in the morning. So that's been kind of, taking my mind off of fighting. And I've been enjoying it, and I love every bit of it.
What's been your favorite part of the homeschooling? What's like the thing that you were most excited to relearn again?
Just honestly everything, like acronyms and synonyms and Well, my son is in first grade, and then my middle son is in kindergarten. But just going through all the stuff again, and we're learning about words that sound exactly the same but mean different things. Like stool, it can mean poop, it can mean a chair. And my son's like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I know it doesn't make sense, Tyron, but it is what it is. And he goes,
so one thing, I have a first grader as well, and he's learning different things. One thing I'm worried about is, like, once he gets to like third, fourth, fifth grade, I guess like math has completely changed, and how you get from like the problem to the answer, it's completely different than it was when like you and I were in school. Have you seen this, and are you concerned about teaching whole new math?
Yeah, my brothers came in town, and they're in college, and I was helping them with their homeschool. And the math that I saw, and I told him straight up, I was like, dog, let me tell you straight up, only math you need in life, depending on what career path you go, is plus, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and learning percentages. That's all you need. All this BS right here, you don't need a damn thing. So when I look at it, I'm like, good luck with that, dog. You need help with, anything else, holler at your boy. But for me, don't come at the house with this.
So if you had to guess, DJ, and I know it's like almost impossible to play the hypothetical game, what's your gut telling you in regards to when you may fight again? Do you think it'll be 2021? Do you think it'll be longer? Maybe not at all? Like, has that thought creeped into your mind at all?
I mean, I'm always, I'm a black and white type of guy where it's like, it's either, I believe I'll probably fight in 2021. I believe that COVID, the cases won't get out of control and things will be fine. But at the end of the day, it is in the back of our mind. All it has to do, the president of the United States will be like, hey, we're shut down. We're going nationwide, shut down, no international traveling. We got to get this under control. I mean, that can happen. It's just the reality of life. It's happened before. Do I want it to happen? Absolutely not. I want to go out there and compete while I'm still young. I don't want to sit on the silence for another year. But if it happens, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it.
You seem like you have your finger on the pulse despite what is going on with the pandemic in your career. I mean, the UFC has a big event on Saturday. Flyweight division is featured in a big way. Some really good matchups there. Figueiredo and Perez, the main event. Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval on the card. And you've been in these spots before, getting the chance to headline events, even though there are some folks out there, like you said, they kind of dump on the smaller fighters. When you're in a spot like these fighters are in, is there a part of you that's like, all right, here's our chance to put a spotlight on this division that shouldn't necessarily need it because the fights are always good, but let's shine the spotlight on anyways. Is there like an extra pressure to do that?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, when I watch fights, I don't think these guys that are going there and make a statement to show the division is dope or whatever. I always thought that way, and that was always my mindset. And it's like, for me, I like vanilla cake. You will never get me to like chocolate cake. I don't care if we're on Mars, Venus, or Pluto. I'm always going to enjoy vanilla cake over than chocolate cake. So that's just how it is with some people. They like heavyweight fighters more than small weight fighters, and I respect that. You can't, you can try to persuade them and change them, but for me, I know what type of weight classes I like to enjoy watching, and nobody's going to change that perspective. There might be a certain athlete that might make me change that, but at the end of the day, I know what I like.
What have you made of Figueiredo's emergence as the champion as he prepares to fight a surging guy like Perez, who would love to go in there and potentially play spoiler on Saturday?
I think Figueiredo is great. I think he's got all the tools to be a champion for a very, very long time. He can take a shot. He's got great cardio. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He hits hard. Those are all the good things to have a long title reign. As long as he stays healthy, drug tests come back clean, he keeps making weight. I don't see why he couldn't, be a champion for a long time. I would love to see him and Henry Cejudo come back, and I would love to see Henry Cejudo come back and fight him, because I feel like Henry Cejudo is a complete package. He'll push the pace, he'll wrestle, and Henry's intelligent, right? So I feel like Henry could be able to go out there and oppose problems from. Not saying that Alex Perez can't. I just haven't seen enough Alex Perez compete. And Henry Cejudo, me and him have shared we fought before. So I know that him and Cejudo will figure out a puzzle.
Of course, next on the agenda for you is the Apprentice, the One Championship Edition. This is pretty interesting stuff. You're going to be a part of it. Ben Askren, George St. Pierre, Brennan Vera, Henzo Gracie, Sage Northcutt, Angela Lee, and there are others that I'm missing. This is pretty cool stuff. For those who may not have seen it, what is your role going to be in the show? Like, what are you going to be doing on the Apprentice One Championship Edition?
I'm super excited about it. That's one of the things I love about One Championship is that they're not just a mixed martial arts company. We got One Esports going on with Dota 2 and all that stuff. Obviously, that's been put on pause with the, global pandemic. But now, stepping into, the One Apprentice show. I know everybody else has kind of filmed their show or whatnot. And obviously, I'm going to be a judge on there, just sharing, my life experience, working full-time job and also competing as a full-time athlete. And basically just guiding the contestants. Hopefully I can help share my insight and be able to be a great judge.
I know, like, in a way, it's going to give those competing in it, like, a chance to learn the business side of MMA, which is lost on a lot of people, especially me, because I have no idea how the business side works, how and why decisions are made behind the scenes. Has the business side of the sport, I mean, of course it relates to you with contracts, money, and all that stuff, but, the back end, the behind the scenes business aspect of such a crazy sport like this, has that been something that you've been interested in on a wider scale?
The only thing I'm interested in it is when it comes to certain things as a business aspect is how can you leverage your brand? Like, how can you be able to expand your brand outside of mixed martial arts? And that's what I've been doing with my gaming. Me and my teammate, we just got back from California shooting some content that was, video game related. And that's going to be broadcast on a certain channel on a certain game. I can't really, speak too much about it. But right there, one of my very first passion, which is video game, I've been able to leverage my name to be able to do content in the video game space. So for me, I would always look at like an athlete, my buddy who's 0-0 as a professional athlete, but undefeated as an amateur. I look at him, I'm like, okay, well, his name is James. He's Chinese. He speaks Mandarin. He also speaks Cantonese, and he also speaks English. He does wushu. He does all of the staff, sword, nunchucks. He does all that stuff. Does performances every Chinese New Year's. I'm like, okay, how can we build your brand? You're already a badass fighter. I'm sure you're gonna do very well, but how can we separate you from everyone else? How can we make your walkout memorable? Just like Israel Adesanya, like I feel like he separates himself from every other, middleweight or champion is because he's very honest. He's throwing up middle fingers. He's calling people the C word, and he's also a nerd who watches anime, and that sticks out to me because that's what type of characters I like to like follow or like, I guess you can say.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. By the way, did you get a PS5 yet?
Yes, I did.
Are you having issues like everybody else?
No thanks to Sony. Shout out to my man Robert Lopez, and shout out to Target for delivering the next damn day. But no problem whatsoever with mine.
Have you seen everybody having issues? Even Daniel Cormier said he's having big problems with it.
Well, I'm sure Daniel Cormier's got his shit on Wi-Fi. You don't play console on Wi-Fi. You hardwire that bad boy.
So there you go, gamers. That's a little piece of advice from the man himself. DJ, it's great catching up with you, man. I know you're driving. I appreciate you giving me so much time. You can catch Demetrious Johnson on the Apprentice One Championship Edition. You can find that on the One Super app, and I believe that'll be dropping pretty soon. But always appreciate the time, man. It's been a few years. Hopefully you'll have a busy 2021 in and out of the cage, but you're handling it all like a true champion. No surprise here. Thank you as always, man. Great stuff right there from DJ. It has been a while since him and I have had the chance to chat, and it's been a while since we've seen him compete. The timing is great. Hopefully once this pandemic dies down, we get to see Demetrious Johnson compete once again, but you can catch him on the Apprentice One Championship Edition on the One Super app when that drops, which I believe is going to be pretty soon. So speaking of drops, this man dropped his opponent in a very, very scary way on Saturday. A one-punch KO from hell that was delivered by one Khaos Williams this past Saturday night at UFC Vegas 14. So let us get the Ox Fighters' reaction to that big win right now. All right, well, there was a lot of attention coming from the main event from this past Saturday's UFC Vegas 14 events. There's so many UFC events, it throws me off sometimes. But the star of the night came from the co-main event. You saw this man, Khaos Williams, knock out Abdulrazak Alhassan in just 30 seconds, a wicked right hand that put his opponent out cold. And with that, second UFC finish, second performance of the night, bonus to boot. Happy to be joined by the Ox Fighter himself, Khaos Williams. How are you, sir?
Blessed, man. Blessed. Having the weather good, having a good day. Like you said, co-main event went well. Just enjoying life.
It's crazy because I went back and watched our first interview back when I was doing the freelance thing, and you were coming off the knockout win over Alex Morano, and there were several things that stuck out to me from that conversation. One of the things that I thought about on Saturday night was the fact that one of your goals for your second UFC fight was to fight somebody that would last more than 60 seconds with you, because you wanted to show a bit more over a longer period of time than you showed in the Morano fight, then land the highlight reel. Instead, between your two UFC fights, you still haven't hit 60 seconds combined yet. This is absolutely incredible. How does it all feel a few days later?
Man, it still still feel good. At the end of the day, especially just seeing how far I've come, seeing Dana White reposted, seeing some of the, some of the legends in the game speak my name, just retweeting, I'm just blessed, at the end of the day. But I never admired my work, gotta stay hungry. And I'm gonna just keep grinding, like right now, like you said, it ain't even been a week yet. So of course, I gotta celebrate a little bit, but I'm gonna be right back in the gym. I'm gonna get right back to work. The more you win, like the harder you gotta work, because at the end of the day, you got more people that's watching you. You got more haters. You got more people that want to fight you. It's just so much. It's just so much. So right now, I'm just enjoying it, but I know what I gotta do. I'm just getting started.
You got more haters? No way.
No, you never know, man. You might have silent haters. People. They can say what they want to say. Like, think about it. Like, at the end of the day, it's a big world. You're not gonna make everybody happy. After my first fight, some people was like, some people was like, that was sloppy or this or that, or just little, people that probably never fought before, just little stuff. But the thing about it is, like, when you get the job done, I get the job done. Like, right, my second fight, I was gonna be more technical. Whether we had to go 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 seconds, however it was gonna be. That's why I took my time, and I just had to show people, like, I'm just not no brawler. I'm a all-around fighter. I'm a well-rounded fighter, and the people they're gonna see that. I just continue to get better, and they're gonna see that.
When you knocked out Morano, you didn't have a lot of time to prepare for that fight, but you used the time that you had to your advantage, because a lot of people didn't realize it, but when you finished Morano, you set it up with the kick to the body, and not a lot of people talked about that, but it was something that you and your team felt would be sort of an opening there. Did you see something in tape watching Alhassan, or did your coaches see something that you knew that right hand would be there and that it would be an opening for you?
Yes. See, the thing about it is, I probably watch probably not even 30 seconds of his fight. Me, I don't even tend to watch people like that. I let my coaches do that, and they just let me know. And my job is just to train. So I just train, and they let me know, like, okay, this guy, he like this, he like that, or this is what he do. And, that's their job. And my job is just to stay ready and be the best me I can be. And they told me to, really, they just said, just keep it tight. Just keep it tight. Show the world that you're technical, you're a well-rounded fighter, and just be patient. And that's all I did.
When Abdul was walking to the octagon, at least where I was watching on ESPN Plus here in Massachusetts, the camera was on you most of the time, especially when you walked in the octagon, because you were just mean mugging the crap out of him. Like, you didn't even blink. You're just staring a hole through his soul before and even after Bruce Buffer made his introduction for you. What is going through your mind at that moment? Is the fight's about to start, you're eyeballing him like that? Like, what are you thinking about?
Hey, like, it's a fight. You sign that contract. In my mind, I'm looking at it like, you signed that contract to fight me. So I believe that you believe you can beat me. You coming in here to hurt me. So it's kill to be killed. It's either you or it's either me. And it's not going to be me. And I'm going to lay it all out here on the line. I got 15 minutes to be great. I got 15 minutes to lay it all on the line. and that's just what it is. We about to test that chin out.
Is that something you do for every fight, or is that something you're just feeling in the moment on Saturday?
No, that's every fight. Every fight. I'm locked in. I'm locked in. One thing about me, let me knock on some wood, but I never been finished. One thing about me, like, I'm here. Win, lose, or draw, I'm here. I'm fighting, and everybody that I fight, we coming to win, and they know they got a fight on their hands. Even through the losses, like early on in my career, it was just a lesson learned, and even through those losses, I've always beat them. They left the fight concussions and throwing up and barely making it out the cage, all beat up. They were just able to control me. That was it. It wasn't me losing the fight. You know what I mean? I just lost by points. They was able to just control me.
Pride rules, you won all your fights, right?
Right. For real.
So it's interesting because, like, in your debut, you were on one of the last cards in front of a crowd in a big arena, so everyone got to react to it. And this one was in an empty arena. Yeah, there were a couple of people there, Dana White, obviously, but what did you like better, the sound of the crowd reacting to the finish, or the echo of the punch landing and his body hitting the mat like that?
I'll definitely say that echo, just because at the end of the day, we got Dana White right there, and that right there in itself was worth more than the crowd to me. At the end of the day, we got people watching at home, and I feel like even though through the pandemic it's been a blessing and a curse, because it kind of people not doing anything. We really don't got the entertainment like we had. So when you have UFC on and people not doing anything, they tuning in. Especially me. Like me, that's why I say I'm the people's champ, because the thing about me, I got the whole Michigan behind me. Really, I got the whole Midwest behind me. I know people all over. I ain't local. I'm everywhere. Chicago, Indiana, all over Michigan, Detroit, Lansing, Jackson, Albion, Kalamazoo, just all over, like, Michigan in general, Battle Creek, just everywhere. So people know me, and yeah, like I said, man, like, I had people tuning in.
Was that the scariest knockout of your career? Like, it was definitely scary to watch on TV, seeing him drop like that and seeing him out and stiff like that. How concerned were you for his well-being after the fight? Was that like one of the scarier knockouts of your career?
Definitely was. I'm not gonna lie, just off the strength, because I know that, it's a sport, and I'm a dangerous fighter, and I feel that at the end of the day, like, when I'm in there, it's kill or be killed. But outside of the cage, I really don't. I know people have lives. That's somebody's son. That's I don't know if he got kids or not, but that might be somebody's dad, or somebody's husband, or you know what I mean. So at the end of the day, like, I never want to hurt nobody, like, too bad, because at the end of the day, it's just a sport. But while I'm in there, it's kill or be killed. And after seeing them down so long, I did get a little concerned. Like, I just hope you're all right.
Because I know you were celebrating, obviously. I mean, that's just such a surreal moment to land a shot like that and get a big win and do it in front of Dana and such a weird time in the world. You did the backflip and everything. Was it kind of hard to celebrate it, or because he was so down, or did you?
Definitely. I mean, it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. Like I said, man, I'm always humble, though. I'm always humble. Right. I'm always humble, but at the end of the day, I put a lot of work into that. That's a lot of pain and suffering, man, a lot of discipline going there. People don't see what's going on in the fights. The fight is won outside of the gym. Outside of the cage. The fight is won getting prepared for the fight. That's the behind the scenes. That's where the work done. Me watching what I'm eating healthy. I'm self-motivated. Nobody had to call me to get up, run miles. Nobody had to call me to go to the jiu-jitsu gym, to go to the wrestling gym, to go to the boxing gym, to cut the weight. Nobody had to do that. That was just me. So, of course, like, all that discipline and days and days leading up to it, I had to celebrate. It wasn't hard.
I know you spent some time at Jackson Wink in preparation for this fight. How long did you spend out there?
Just a week. But in that week, I just got better. I was able to get one-on-one with Greg. I was able to get one-on-one with Winkle John. And then, the people there's a lot of talent as well. And it didn't even have everybody there. So, I'm going to definitely go back.
You had some words with the big boss after the win, Dana White, as you were walking to the back for your post-fight interview. He had that look in his eye, man. What did you guys say to each other?
He was just like, that's one of the most vicious knockouts he's seen in his life. And I'll just, just thank you. I was just grateful to be there, just had the opportunity. Like I said, when opportunity and preparation meet, is nice. And that's one thing about me. Like, I never wanted, one of my previous interviews, I've always said, like, they can call, the thing about me, I'm a fighter at heart. I love to fight. It's just not about the money. Of course, if I'm fighting these, when I get further in my career and I'm fighting guys who, like, top 10 or top 15, of course, like, they got to pay me what I'm worth. I'm a businessman as well. I'm not trying to make X amount of dollars and they making, way up here, because you got to give me what I'm worth. But at the end of the day, it's not about the money for me. It's about, just to continue pursuit of growth, just the opportunity to just keep being great and, just my legacy.
That line you dropped in the post-fight interview with Michael Bisping, people going to keep sleeping on me and the doctor going to keep waking them up. Man, that thing was awesome. That was very powerful stuff. Do you feel like people may be done sleeping on you now that you've given everyone your division, especially a bit of a reminder since they hadn't seen you in 9 months or so?
Man, truthfully, I really don't care. But I think that, like I said, when I feel like I could say what I want to say. And, I'm a decent speaker, but at the end of the day, I got to continue to just keep, I'm more of a doer. You get what I mean? I like to talk with my hands. I like to speak with my actions. So people could know what I'm saying with my hands. They can know what I'm saying with my actions, just like Saturday. I feel like some people, they might sleep on me. They might still be sleeping, but it's going to take me to continue to just keep winning, maybe 2-3 more fights. And then, put the division on, for them to put some respect on my name.
Any I know you just fought on Saturday, but any movement on the video game front, the Khaos Williams video game?
No,
character?
I don't think I said something about the video game. I guess that I didn't even know that, but I guess DC said no. Somebody retweeted, told me DC said no. But I could have swore that the two people I just beat were on the video game, if I'm not mistaken. But hey, I don't know.
Are you cool with that? Or, I mean, you're okay waiting? I mean, after 2 knockouts like that, you should be in the freaking game at this point.
I agree. But at the end of the day, it's God's timing. It's God's timing. They can't deny me. I'm gonna end up getting on there eventually. My main thing is just, keep winning. At the end of the day, just keep winning, keep getting better. And, that's really it. The game, that was something I just had to put out there because I have people that I got gamer friends who asked me. And people always ask me, so, I had to put it out there. And hopefully they do put me on there. I'm making noise.
When I last spoke to you, your mentality's always been just line them up. I'll fight whoever the UFC gives me. But right now, you got a lot of momentum. And I feel like you're in a place where if you want to, you could call your shot if you want, because a lot of eyes are on you right now. What do you want next? Like, who sticks out to you as a fight that you would like at 170?
I got people ask me this a lot. One thing about me, like, it's not really nobody that really stick out to me. It's not really nobody that stick out to me for real. Like you said, man, all eyes on me like Pop. At the end of the day, it's all, I'm just playing it by ear. I'm just playing it by ear, taking it day by day. And, I let the matchmaker do their job. I let Dana White, talk to the matchmaker, and, we can make something happen. But, I ain't giving nobody no extra clout. I'm here.
So, I mean, even deep down, there's no one that you're thinking about? I mean, you don't have to tell me, but are you just not thinking about anybody?
No, I ain't thinking about nobody.
Do you want to try and get another one in this year? Like, if they offered you, I mean, you're still in Vegas right now. If they offered you a fight on any of these upcoming November cards, maybe December, are you all over that?
Maybe, like I said, I'm just playing it by ear, taking it day by day. I never want to put too much on my plate, but I definitely, if the opportunity to present itself and it's right, I will get back in there.
Where'd you get the suit, man? That as impressive as the performance was, I think you got even more attention for that suit you were wearing. You looked like 5 Billy, man. Where did you get that thing?
Oh, man, in Detroit, man. I can't give up the sauce, though, man. I can't give up the sauce. Can't get my plug up, man. You know what I mean? Can't get my plug up.
You don't want to give the guy a shout?
Nah. You know what I'm saying? He got to pay me. He got to pay me a little extra for that.
Ah, touche. But I
Give me
mean,
a free suit or something.
I mean, did you think the suit would blow up the way that it has? Because I mean, the picture, your photo with that suit on, that thing was everywhere on Saturday night.
Right. You know, I made the suit. You know, the suit didn't make me, but you know, hey, you feel me? But I didn't think it was gonna blow up like it did. But I did know, like, I've been doing this. You know, my first pro fight, I had the suit like 4 years ago, like before like everybody seen Conor doing it and stuff like that. I got my own swag, man. You know, I've been dripped up. You know, I've been Gucci down. I've been wearing designer way before the UFC. People just not catching up. I've been wearing Louis Vuittons and, you know, driving sports cars and, you know what I'm saying, just living good. You know, I've been doing this, you know, but like I said, I'm always humble, but I've been doing this. You know, people just not catching up.
Yeah, it's a professional thing, right? Like, you're a professional athlete. You compete in the cage as a professional athlete, and then after the fact, celebrating the win, you dress like a professional after the fact.
Yeah, exactly.
I noticed, and you talked about it in the post-fight scrum, you were wearing the autism awareness lapel, and you mentioned there were family members that you're wearing that in honor of, and that got a lot of positive buzz on social media. How important is it for you, as your stardom continues to rise, to be able to use your platform to raise awareness for things like autism and other things for good like that?
You know, I'm the people's champ, man. Like I said, man, you know, some people hate me, some people love me, you know, but at the end of the day, as long as they watching, that's all that matters. And as far as doing that for autism and just everything, everything I stand on, man. You know, I've done a lot of negative stuff back in the day, and now I just turned all that negative and made it positive. So I just want to have a positive outlook on things, you know, like I'm me. And, you know, like I said, I came from the mud. So, you know, I just want to shed a little light for the ones that feel stuck. I just want to use the platform for things is like we were talking about as far as like autism and stuff like that. I just want to use my platform to be able to, you know what I mean, speak life and just be positive on certain things as well, man. Because, you know, everybody love negative shit. It's easy to attach yourself to negative stuff, you know? Like, example. And, you know what I mean? Not like anybody like speaking, but example. Everybody love you when you look like everybody talking about you when you dead and gone. You get what I mean? Right now, I just had a knockout. Okay. Great knockout. Second fight, co-main event. Great opponent. Knockout artist. People not getting in there. People not rushing to get in there with a guy like that. You get what I mean? They're not rushing to get in there with a guy like me either, but I always give credit where it's due. And he was a dangerous opponent. I knew what I was up against, but I was locked in. Now, as far as the negative side I was talking about, like, boom, example. If I was I ain't gonna say me, but you get what I'm saying? Like, die tomorrow, man. It's like people blow up. They go blow up. They blow up. Overnight type stuff, you know?
I feel like MMA is that way in general. Like, and you probably felt this like coming up on the regional scene too. Like, when you're winning, everyone wants to go out and drink beers with you and hang out. Mm-hmm. And then when you lose, like, you know who the real ones are. And now that you're like running them off here in the UFC and running off knockouts, I'm sure like either some of those people are coming back or, you know, new people are trying to come into your life. Like, what has that been like for you? And have you experienced that in your career?
Yeah, you know, on the come up. I mean, it's never been at this level, obviously. You know, this is the highest level I can be on ESPN, Sports Center, UFC. So, I mean, it's never been like how it is right now. But coming up, you know, it's definitely the people definitely been on me like this before. You know, winning, you know, 1,000 people liking your stuff and everybody sharing your stuff. Like, I've already had like a large amount of people hit me up as I was coming up. You know, some people seen this. But as far as like now, me being on ESPN and doing it on ESPN Plus and the UFC, like, man, my phone blowing up, man. I couldn't even read it all. I read all the messages, man. Like, I can't even see everything.
It's crazy, man. How's the real estate game right now with the pandemic going on? Like, I know like here in Western Massachusetts, it's booming right now. Like, I know you do different things with development and stuff, but you know, people from the big cities are trying to get the hell out of Dodge and they're buying everything out here. How's the real estate biz in Michigan right now?
It's still great. You know, everything's still moving, you know. That's one thing about land, you know, like, sure, you can't get enough of it. my thing is I've just been focused on the fighting and stuff, so I kind of put it on hold a little bit, you know, just to be able to be at my best, because I was supposed to fight in March,
right,
and that kind of got on hold, and I kind of got a little lax in April. I got a little relaxed in April because I'm like, man, here I am, I'm grinding. April come, I'm grinding. They shut everything down, and instead of like working on the properties or anything like that, I'm thinking I might have a fight, you know. So I kind of put that on hold because it's not going nowhere. I just got to, you know, just pay the taxes on that. That's not going nowhere. That's going to be there, you know. But as far as me getting the opportunity to fight, I got to be at my best. And I kind of put that on hold to be able to be at my best. And then when they shut everything down, I got a little relaxed. And they called me for a fight. And I'm like, no, because I don't want to sell myself short. You know, I got to be at my best. Yeah.
Did they offer you something else before this last fight?
Yeah, they did. It was in May. It was like a two week notice fight.
You weren't interested in that.
What you say?
You weren't interested in that. You wanted to make sure your second go around.
Yeah, I was still in shape. But like I said, I just wasn't at my best. And anytime I get in there, I want to give the fans my best, because I got a lot of people that believe in me. You know, I got a lot of people that spend their hard-earned money betting on me. Not only that, I owe it to myself to be at my best. Win, lose, or draw, I got to be at my best, because I know at my best, I don't feel like nobody can really touch me. You know, this is a God-given talent. You know, I'm a great athlete. It's not just about a fight. I'm a great athlete. Everything about me is I'm just focused, man. My mind, my body, just spiritually, it's everything, man. You know, I spend the time to meditate. I do this. People don't see what's going on behind the scenes.
Did anyone win a lot of money on Saturday off of you?
Yeah, I had a lot of people that won a lot of money, man. People were sending me bets. I had people that spent $5,000. A couple of my homies, man, they were sending me dudes bet $2,000, one like $5,500. Another one of my homies bet like $5,000. One over $10,000. I got people that's bet like $200-$300. You know, I had a lot of people that spend money that I know personally. It was a little irritating before the fight when I had everybody blowing me up like, man, what you about to do? Man, what you about to knock them out, or you gonna win? I'm like, man, listen, man, don't ask me if I'm about to win. You know, I do this, man. I believe in myself. If you gonna bet on me, you gonna bet on me. You know.
Hopefully they're Venmoing you a couple of bucks there, buddy. I mean,
man, shit, they need to. Shoot.
Especially when you're talking 4 or 5 figures like that. They get 10%. That's nothing. It's not the
real. Yeah. No, nope.
Very interesting guy, Khaos Williams. What a start to his UFC career. Really intrigued about where he will go from here. Alex K. Lee and myself tried to make sense of it on this past episode of On to the Next One. Although my pick is no more since Bilal Muhammad is now fighting Diego Lima in December. I thought Khaos sliding in there to replace Sean Brady on December 19th was a very, very interesting option. But for now, Khaos Williams will enjoy the win, enjoy some extra time in Las Vegas, and congratulations to him as we get ready to say hello to a bucket list guest that I've been trying to talk to for a long, long time, probably 4 or 5 years at this point. Funky Ben Askren. Their wait is over. That conversation happens right now on What the Heck. All right, so for years, people have been asking me, when are you going to interview Ben Askren? And for years, I've tried, and to no avail, but luckily, for the first time in my career, Funky Ben is joining me on the other side of the camera, former Bellator champion, former ONE champion, former UFC welterweight, and now he's living that retired life, but still involved in the game. He'll be part of the Apprentice ONE Championship edition. That's going to be dropping soon on the ONE app. But Ben Askren, happy to have you here, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I was up early this morning. Obviously, I'm on the other side of the globe, getting some work done, doing some reading. Life's pretty good.
So where are you right now?
I'm in Singapore.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying the trip?
You know what? They're very strict over here with the Corona thing, way more than so in America. So when I got here, I had to get tested. I did a 2-day quarantine, and they're still very strict and regimented on what I can and can't do. So I would love to have a little more freedom, but I understand how they like to roll over here. So I get it. So I have a lot of work in my room, and I'm getting stuff done while I have free time.
So what are you doing in Singapore, if you don't mind me asking? I'm sure is this ONE involved?
Yeah, you mentioned.
Oh,
it.
you're filming now.
Yeah, I'm filming for The Apprentice, the One Championship Edition. I've never been part of a TV production, so it's kind of an interesting new thing. Well, obviously besides fighting, but like for a TV show. So I filmed with Brandon Vera yesterday. We had a good time. We enjoyed ourselves. It was good.
There you go. So it has been right around a year. We're recording on a Monday night. So 2 days from right now, as we record, will be the 1 year anniversary of you going on Ariel Helwani's MMA show and announcing your retirement from the sport. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it does not feel like that long ago, actually. It really doesn't. But that sounds, obviously it was November of last year. Yeah, I mean, the whole last couple of years, it kind of seems like a blur to me how fast everything went by from the unretirement to the fighting to the retirement again. And then obviously this year with 2020 for everyone's been pretty wild with everything going on.
So when it comes to the Apprentice thing, I wanted to go back to this real quick. What is your role in the show? Like, I know that there's a whole slew of you guys and gals that are going to be making special guest appearances, but I talked to DJ a little while ago. He said he's going to be a special guest judge of some sort. What is your role going to be?
I don't even know what they would call my role, a special guest of some sort. I did some things and I'm not really supposed to talk about what I did. So I'm just going to leave it at I'm a special guest, but yeah, they got a pretty good group of athletes. DJ was here, GSP, Henzo Gracie, Brandon Vera, myself, I think Angela Lee. I don't know who else. I mean, there might be a few more, but not too many more.
One of the big reasons that you had to retire was due to you having problems with your hip, and I know it required a full replacement surgery, which you had a couple of months ago. You posted that it wasn't a full replacement?
It was called the Birmingham hip. You want to see my scariest? I'll show you.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
That thing's massive.
So it's called the Birmingham hip. So what they do is they get it all cleaned up. They cap the top of, the bone goes into the socket. So they cap the top of it, and then they clean up the inside and they put something on the inside. So I mean, I'm pain free. I was, there's a whole bunch of other things. I knew a bunch of pain on my one side and range of motion was tied to my hip issue, but I had all kinds of back problems. And the day after the surgery, they were just gone. It was wild. I really I wasn't anticipating that. I just thought I had a bad back because I wrestled my whole life. And then morning after surgery, I woke up and back pain was gone. And I'm like, maybe I'm on pain pills. Maybe that's it, and then it just never came back.
Is this the best you felt in years now?
You know what? It's one of those things where when you're in it, you just kind of, this is how it is, and you never really think about it all that much. And you just accept that that's the way it is. And so now, even now that I feel good, it's like, well, I just accept that's the way that I am. So I don't want to say, but yeah, I had relatively severe back pain to go along with everything else. And I had hip surgery and it's gone. It's tremendous.
And what a couple of months has been for you since the surgery. Cryptocurrency is going crazy.
Just today, dog, had 20% boom on Litecoin I was watching. Let me make sure I'm not wrong. Yeah, right around 20%. We're in the bull market cycle. I'm having a lot of fun with that. Our wrestling academies are doing great despite the corona thing going on. We've had absolutely zero transmission in our academies. So that's going really well. Yeah, having a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, President of the United States called you a young superstar, getting WWE
and a male model.
You're getting WWE title belts.
I got away with a lot of things in my life because of my looks.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I'm right there with you. It must be this facial hair thing we got rocking right now. One thing I did notice, you interviewed John freaking Danaher. What was that like? I mean, you talked to him for about an hour.
You know who else I interviewed? I got to interview Ron Paul, and he's like one of my heroes this year. So that was fun. The Danaher interview was awesome because, they said hey, interview John for 15 minutes or whatever. And, we sat down and we just started talking and we kept talking. And then all of a sudden it was like an hour. And I'm like, oh shit, it's been an hour, So it was like a really organic conversation where I just had a lot of fun. Talking to another really, really great mind in grappling.
How did you initially react to the Donald Trump thing right off the bat? Because that was just great.
I mean, most of the stuff is like, I'm not, I know people start tweeting me and I'm like, what are they talking about? And then I have to go look it up. I'm like, oh my God. I don't know, it's equally terrible and great and funny at the same time. It's kind of a weird world where, the president of the United States is referencing me multiple times. Probably not in all that. He's saying positive things about me, but it's all circulating around an event that was very negative to me. But I think the ultimate turn is that George has become ultra right wing. I mean, he's going nuts on Twitter. It's pretty wild.
It's just a crazy year for us all, Ben. We're seeing all these things we never thought we would.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing we were expected to see it at some point, but you're in Singapore filming for The Apprentice right now, a little over 2 years after the trade is finalized, because I think we just surpassed the 2-year anniversary of that. You're back teaming up with Chatri and the promotion once again. How did this all happen to actually get you involved in the show?
I don't even recall when he asked me for sure, because obviously there were some hiccups this year with the pandemic, but he's someone I keep in touch with. I want to say on not on a weekly basis, but maybe a couple times a month, just touch base about something going on. We have a really friendly relationship, and we're both obviously interested in MMA, interested in the business of MMA, so I don't know. I talked to him kind of regularly, and he asked, and I said sure, and that was that.
Well, I'm glad you're here, because I don't know when I'm going to get the chance to talk to you again. So I want to pick your brain about a few things, if you don't mind.
Ask all the toughest questions you got. I'm ready for it.
Well, this is all fun stuff. This is all stuff you probably talk about day to day anyways. But, obviously you're watching all these events. You're giving your takes on your various podcasts. But the popular topic in the sport right now, because it's late in the year, and it always seems to be this way, but it's a little more interesting now, it's the Fighter of the Year talk. And normally it's either locked up or it's down to like 2, maybe 3 fighters tops. But this year it is freaking wide open. And most of the times it would go to a champion of some sort. But with COVID-19 going on, we're seeing fighters like Khamzat Chimaev, fighters like Kevin Holland. They're very opportunistic. They're making big strides, and they have huge main events coming up with title implications this quick against Leon Edwards and Jack Hermanson, respectively. So with all this going on, how are you looking at the Fighter of the Year conversation right now?
That's a good one, because I guess none of the champs have necessarily stuck out that far. And obviously, like you said, this year with the Corona situation, it's been really difficult for people to get regular bookings. And so it has been, a lot of people have been highly opportunistic, which is definitely the right move, right? It's like, if you're a fighter this year, especially if you're not like a main event fighter already, you need to get your ass in shape and just tell the UFC, like, listen, there's any quarantines, there's any positive tests, I'm fucking ready. Like, you know what? Fly me to Vegas. I'll stay in Vegas for 4 weeks. And if any show, opens up, I'm on it. I'll fly to Abu Dhabi. And if any fight opens up, I'm on it. Like, that's what the smart guys are doing right now. I mean, that's literally what Chimaev did that first round in Abu Dhabi, is he fought and he just stuck around. And I can't remember who fell out, but someone fell out and he hopped in 10 days later or something. So that's definitely the right move by those guys. But you're right. No one really sticks out that far and above anybody else. If Chimaev beats Leon Edwards, I think it's probably going to go to him. Of the champions, I don't think there's any of them who've even had. No one's going to have 3 fights, right? Of the major champions.
Saturday, Deiveson Figueiredo is fighting Alex Perez. Both of their 3rd fights. If Figueiredo wins, he won the title, beat Joe B twice, he'll defend it. If Alex Perez wins, 2 finishes against top 10 guys, and then wins the title in a major upset, there's a possibility that the winner of that fight could be the front runner, at least for now, right?
Definitely a possibility, but for whatever reason, that flyweight division isn't really generating too much attention. And whether it's fair or not fair, that has a lot to do with who's going to win the Fighter of the Year, 100%.
What have you made? I mean, Chimaev, like you said, very opportunistic, stayed on the island, got to fight 10 days later. But I mean, I could have, we've seen fighters do the same, but I have not seen in a long time, maybe like your impact in the UFC in that 1 year was just huge. Like, you burst on the scene, made a massive impact. Chimaev is kind of like the 2020 version of that. You made each fight around it bigger, and that's kind of what he's doing right now. What have you made of, like, just his immediate surge? Like, the level of opponents has not been tremendous, but if he goes out there and beats Leon Edwards, this is just outrageous, is it not?
Well, you know what? He's one of those things, and I've said this multiple times, but the formula for what makes a star is fascinating to me because there is no formula. It doesn't, I mean, Chimaev doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's like, he's like a little bit funny, but not that funny. He's won fights in a handful of different ways. It's like, why did he catch on so fast when, you know, there's other fighters in the UFC who, if you listed a level of criteria that you would say for a superstar, they probably would fit the criteria much better than Chimaev would. And there's just something about the story where he fought at different weight classes. He turned around in 10 days. There's just something about that story that, for whatever reason, it has caught on like fire. And yes, if he beats Leon Edwards, especially if it's decisively, if he doesn't win decisively, it will take a little bit of steam off. But if he beats Leon Edwards decisively, he'll probably be a top 5 personality in UFC by the end of 2020.
Just so crazy to see this rise. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable to think about this year and this surge. One thing I'm sure you've touched on many times over the years. A few weeks ago, we saw Khabib Nurmagomedov submit Justin Gaethje, retains his title, subsequently retires, and then, as you've seen, like, when someone like Khabib wins a fight, especially the way he did it, it spurs up, you know, the GOAT chatter. And I believe it was like in May when Conor made his list on Twitter, and then you revealed your list on Twitter, and you had GSP and Jones, DC, Silva, Khabib.
I did. My list had the 7 possibilities.
Right.
I think it's just so hard to pick one, because I think there's a lot of different people who have really, really, really good arguments for being the GOAT. And so, you know, with Khabib, you know, at 29-0, and they've all been relatively dominant. There haven't been really very many where you said, oh, shit, I don't know if he's going to win this one or going into the 5th round. And so given that fact, you'd think, okay, it's an obvious one. But then, you know, when John Jones says, well, you've only defended your belt 4 times, like, or whatever it was. Well, John Jones has got a point there, right? He really does. But then we got with John Jones, he's failed like 3 drug tests now. You know, that if someone wants to count that, it's like, it'd be like saying Lance Armstrong is the greatest biker of all time. Like, I'm sure there's some people who consider him that, but most people have just thrown him out of the discussion because of the extracurriculars that surround his career. And so when you're making that list, it's so subjective to what you think, what your personal opinion is on what matters. Yeah, I mean, I think the GOAT topic is fascinating to everyone because there's just not a clear cut, like, oh yeah, it's obvious, it's this guy, duh. Like, there's no way anyone can say that.
Yeah, and I think what throws people off sometimes is that they combine the GOAT in the pound for pound discussion, because to me, like, GOAT is like all time, start to finish, entire career, but pound for pound to me is like right this second, right now, who is the most dominant fighter in the world. To me, John Jones, GSP, they're in the GOAT conversation, maybe 1A, 1B. And then right now, it's hard to argue that Khabib is not the best pound for pound fighter on earth. It's just so dominant. Yeah. Jones has gone to decisions. Khabib's just running through people. Like, people just have a hard time separating the two. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and then that would go to, like, are we judging, when we talk about GOAT, are we judging a peak or are we judging a longevity, right? Because, you know, John Jones has held that longevity for quite a while. He's been either the best in the world or questionably the best in the world, with some asterisks because he's sitting out because of whatever reason he's sitting out for at the current time. Yeah. And so you know, it's again where some people have that, I don't want to say it's confused, but there is this, you know, is it the peak or is it the longevity? And you know, like with an Anderson Silva, if he would have retired on top, like before, say he retired before the Weidman fight where he lost, people would have legitimately considered him the GOAT, and for very good reason. But, you know, so he was up here on this plateau, and then he drops off at the end. And so a lot of people are then taking his name out of the discussion. But does that, do those later fights, and this is honestly, I don't have a great answer for this, do those later fights really have that bad of an implication on what he did earlier? Or did what he did earlier, can that stand on its own as a body of work, and then you don't detract from his later work?
Yeah, because I found that interesting that you put Anderson on your list, but you didn't put Fedor and BJ Penn on your list because they didn't retire early enough, but Anderson was there.
Man, BJ is a tough argument, but Fedor is easier, I think, is that there's a legitimate argument to be made that the best heavyweights in the world weren't actually in Pride. A lot of people thought that unequivocally the best heavyweights in the world were in the Pride organization while Fedor was there. And man, I think you could make an argument otherwise. At the time, no one was making the argument, but when we look back at it, the data, I think that's pretty unequivocal that there's a good argument to be made that the best heavyweights were not all there.
Do you think Khabib comes back?
Hope not. I love reading about great athletes, and I wanted it for myself, but I fucked it up, right? I always wanted an athlete to have like that picture perfect ending, because there's so few that actually have that ending where they're on top, they did everything they wanted to do, and they ride out into the sunset and they said, I don't need this shit anymore. So I hope so, but I don't know.
What about you, man? I know you just had surgery. You're feeling good. The back pain has gone away. But I mean, you're a pro wrestling fan as well. There's always that never say never mantra in the pro wrestling world, WWE especially. Can you say definitively that we have seen your final fight, or do you think, right place, right time, right opportunity, right money, maybe you'll scratch that itch?
I would say never say never. I think it's unlikely. I'm going to wrestle next year, not WWE wrestle, real wrestle. I mean, I need a reason to train and be in shape. I love eating freaking ice cream and everything else. So if I'm like, I don't have a good reason. I haven't gotten on the scale in a year. I haven't gotten on the scale since I fought Damian Maia over a year ago. If I don't have a good reason to get on the scale, I'm not getting on the scale. And I know that ain't great for my health. So I'm not super obese, but I'm definitely not in great shape right now. And so I can't really train I can ride a bike right now. That's about all I can do with my hip. But give me a few more months and I'll be able to get on the mat and start lightly doing some stuff. I'm definitely going to try to do some wrestling matches next year, just so I give myself a reason to stay in shape. And, I'm at the Wrestling Academy 5 days a week anyway, so it's not like it's going to change my life all that much. I'll just get in there and hop in and work out a few times.
Wow, look at you. I mean, not many people come back from that surgery and get on the wrestling mat that quickly.
Well, so my doctor doesn't think there's been anyone who's had the surgery and then fought professionally afterwards. I think he's had maybe a few golfers or a few other. He's done like 950 of these. He's like one of the preeminent guys in the United States at it. And I want to say maybe he did like the Undertaker or something like that. Yeah. So I want to do something, right? I mean, one of the main reasons I was excited to get this specific surgery, if you get the full hip replacement, you can't do shit. Like, you can't run, you can't wrestle, you can't grapple. You're out on everything. And with the surgery that I got, I should be able to be full go after a year.
Were you originally supposed to get the full hip replacement?
There's within the medical community, there's like a debate on whether this surgery is better than the full hip. Because I guess there's a slightly higher failure rate or something to that effect. But, given my age and the fact that I'm young and I'm healthy and that this will give me the opportunity to do things I want to continue to do in my life, I thought this was pretty much, for me, it was a no-brainer.
So a week or two ago, I'm just surfing the internet like I normally do, and I see your name popping up, and Jake Paul continues to say your name. Like he's about to fight Nate Robinson. What is up with this, man? What the hell? Like, he says he wants to box you, Masvidal, and McGregor to prove he's a legit boxer. Like, I feel like the two of you guys have had this thing for a while now. Like, what is the deal?
No, I was going to wrestle. Logan Paul came at me last year, and I think that's his brother or cousin or some shit. I don't know what their deal is. But I think he was actually a wrestler, and he wanted to wrestle somebody, and I said, well, we don't got to do a full match, but I'll pin you in under a minute. No problem, Bubba. And he obviously did not accept the challenge because he pretty much knows that that's how it would go down. Yeah, and Jake Paul wants to box me. I don't know. I'm not a boxer, but I could beat up a bum YouTube celebrity.
Oh man, I would love that. That would sell a lot of pay-per-views.
It would be something to do just because you could say like, I did it. You know, it's like I don't got to go box fucking Roy Jones, get my ass whooped or nothing. I can box this some YouTube bum and get paid for it. Like, what a tremendous livelihood.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, your son Chase Hooper is getting back in the cage on December 12th.
Yeah,
Peter Barrett.
Yeah, we might have some more stuff coming up soon. You never know.
Oh yeah. Well, I know you guys did some stuff earlier, right?
Yeah.
Early filmed some stuff.
Never know.
Wow. Okay. Have you seen him as of late? I know you guys pranked Ariel, but have you seen him since then?
Oh yeah. I don't remember when it was. A couple weeks back, month back, something like that.
Do you guys keep in touch often?
Not super often. Just reach out once in a while. Yeah.
Last thing for me, true or false, Dave Portnoy will be on the Funky Crypto podcast sometime in 2021.
Man, that dumbass sold out at well, we in the crypto community, you call it weak hands, right? Because the crypto price, I mean, it's like Litecoin went up 20% in the last 24 hours, but then it could drop 12% tomorrow, right? And that happens. And so, I think he got in. And he went on a little ride, went up about 20%, and it dropped 10%. And he acted like a wimp, and he got out. And he said, "I'm done with it. I can't handle this." So he's got weak hands. Once you've been in the crypto space for a while, you realize it's highly volatile. And I enjoy it because I always love gambling. It kind of kicks my gambling urge. I don't need to gamble because I get to watch the crypto markets. Yeah, I think he's going to be on. I think he's been retweeting us a few times. I think he's got some curiosity around the show that we do. Yeah, I'm going to say yes. True.
That'd be a pretty big get for you, man. He's yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time, man. I know you're halfway across the globe and doing a lot of different things, and this is one of those bucket list conversations for me. I'm glad we were able to make it happen. Big shout out to One for setting this all up. But anything else you want to get off your chest before we say goodbye? I know you got a million things going on.
No, just follow me on social media. You'll probably see all my stuff at Ben Askren. You guys have it on the Instagram, but the same thing on Twitter. I don't really post all that much on Facebook. I don't really love Instagram. I really enjoy Twitter mostly. And then check me out. I'm One Championship, the Apprentice edition, Apprentice One Championship edition, and who knows where else you'll be seeing me coming up.
That was just great. Ben Askren joining the show, and look at that, keeping that door open for a possible return. I would say the door is seemingly closed, but may not be locked altogether like you just heard. And to think this man is thinking of getting back on the wrestling mats after getting a major hip surgery not very long ago, that's just something else. So great stuff from the Funky One, and look forward to seeing what happens with him and his quest to get back to wrestling. Who knows, maybe back in the cage. As we move ahead we go from the Funky One to the Smooth One. Benson Henderson returns to the Bellator cage tonight. Bellator 253 co-main event, taking on Jason Jackson. Spoke with Benson this past Friday, and always enjoy chatting with the former UFC lightweight champion. Check it out. All right, we have Benson Henderson joining us right now. He's back in action this Thursday in the co-main event of Bellator 253. He's going to take on Jason Jackson. Benson, good to talk to you again, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Not too bad at all. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. So this fight seemed to have come together quickly, but Bellator likes to wait to announce these fights until the date gets a little bit closer. When were you made aware of this fight with Jason?
I was given notice about Jason a little under 2 weeks, two weeks ahead of time. So, but I did text Mike Hogan. I did text Bellator and say, hey, I don't know if I did tell you guys this or not. I hope you guys know this already. But if you guys got anything short notice, 170, 155 is 155. I need a little more notice. I need about 3-4 weeks notice. 50, 70, give me 2 days notice. If you guys need anything, let me know though. And about 2-3 days later, 4 days later, he texted me, hit me up, said, "Hey, you wanted some short notice? How about Jason Jackson, November 19th?" I said, "Let's do it. I'm in Huckleberry."
There you go. When was the last time you've had a fight in like 2 weeks notice or that kind of short notice? Has it been a while, or is this somewhat typical for you?
No, it's not too typical. Normally nowadays in Bellator they give me a good advance notice ahead of time.
Right.
Not for a while. I think not for a while. They have a short notice fight.
Does it feel different? I mean, you've experienced everything at this point. You've had short notice fights before in your career, but does it feel different, a little old school here?
No, it feels good, especially being at 170. It's nice to be able to concentrate on your opponent, Jason Jackson, worry about what he brings to the game, and not have to obsess about how many calories I've eaten today, how many calories I ate at breakfast, how many grams of protein I had, how many milligrams of sodium I've intook throughout the day, how much my protein was. So it's nice just to worry about fighting and not all the other get down the weight and stuff. How
much did you weigh, if you don't mind me asking, when you said yes to the fight?
I think I was like 178 pounds, like 178.2 that day. I remember they texted and asked.
Oh, there you go. This is easy peasy for you.
Yeah.
You're probably close to the weight right by now, right? You probably just walk in.
Yeah, I actually tried to keep up a little heavier weight when working my strength conditioning coach on being stronger, heavier at 170. So it's only 2 weeks notice, so it's harder to do that. But yeah, I'm trying to stay away from being too light.
There you go. So your last fight was back in August against Michael Chandler, and you were looking pretty darn good early on in that fight. You really beating up his body, and then he lands that left hand, and he ends up putting you away. Obviously, not the way you drew it up, especially considering how fired up you were to run that one back. But, wins and losses, you can always take something away from these fights. What were you able to take away from that fight despite it not going your way?
The thing I took away most from the Chandler fight was him making an adjustment in the middle of the fight, meaning not being able to adjust to it. He switched to a southpaw stance. Whether they saw something, scouted something ahead of time, he switched to southpaw stance. And when he switched to southpaw, I did attack right away. I did notice that. And then normally when someone switches stance, they're not obviously as good in their off stance as they are their natural stance. So he switched to southpaw. And I fired off right away. I was aggressive. I went forward right away. I landed, I think, a good hard body shot when he went to southpaw. But I didn't make the defensive adjustments, I guess. But he came through with that good left hand. He landed pretty clean from his southpaw stance. So I did not adjust accordingly. I didn't adjust enough.
I mean, of course, we saw what that led to. Chandler goes into free agency. He's now at the UFC, and he's one of the Bellator OGs, one of the faces of the promotion for a long time. Were you surprised that he jumped to the UFC, or did you think there's a chance he might have come back and stayed?
I didn't really know. I wasn't really sure. Didn't have much. Didn't hear much one way or the other about it, really.
How do you think he's going to fare over there? Last question on this, and then we'll move on to the fight. But
no, it's fine, no worries. I think he can do really well, actually. I think he has the wrestling ability. Old Khabib retired, but I think he had the wrestling pedigree to not get held down. I think he was wise enough, MMA IQ, MMA wrestling. I think he was good enough to not get held down by Khabib, and then had the power in his hands because Khabib got hit a lot. I think he had the power in his hands to put Khabib down, but whatever, we're gonna find out now. But I think he stacks up very well against most of all the other guys at 155. I think he's gonna do very well. I think he'll hold his own. He's a true champion.
Yes, because it looks like maybe Tony Ferguson, maybe Justin Gaethje seems to be in his future. You like his chances in those fights?
I think he stacks up pretty well against most of those guys. I'll be interested in seeing, because he's a shorter guy, how he does against some of the longer, better guys. He's gone against long guys in his past. In some of the fights that he's had a tough matchup or some of the shorter guys, actually. But I'd still be interested in seeing how he does against some of the longer guys, especially some of the guys like 6'3" or 155. I'm not sure how tall Tony is and what his reach is or anything. But I'll be interested in seeing Chandler against a longer, taller guy with a reach of like 78 inches, 79 inches or so, and seeing how he's able to overcome that.
So let's talk about Thursday night, back to welterweight to face a guy in Jason Jackson. I mean, he's been in there with some big names. He's had his opportunities along the way. Very talented guy, just beat Jordan Meehan in his last fight. Did you know much about Jason when you got the matchup, and how do you like it now from an X's and O's perspective?
Yeah. I didn't know very much about Jason beforehand. I think I did see his fight with Ed Ruth, so the name sounded familiar, and I was like, oh, yeah, the guy who fought Ed Ruth. So yeah, I didn't really know much about him. I think I only saw one of his fights. I do like the matchup. I think hopefully it allows me the opportunity to showcase a lot of things I've been working on. I use the analogy. The fighters, good fighters, the guys who've been doing it a while, been around, they're like painters. Someone who paints something, they want to show it to the world. Hey, look what I'm working on. I've spent 2 months painting this painting. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I want the world to see it. Check it out. Fighters myself, I'm the same way. Like, hey, I got kicked in the head 17 times. I got punched in the body 27 times. Working on this new spin move I have. It's really cool. Check it out. I want you guys to see it. So I want to showcase to the world stuff I've been working on. So I think that Jason Jackson gives me a great opportunity to really showcase some things that we're working on, whether it was against Chandler, working on it against specifically, or whether it was against Miles Jury or Syed Nawad, Adam Piccolotti. A lot of those guys, I got my hand raised, so that's awesome. I'm thankful for that. But I wasn't able to showcase a lot of the stand-up, a lot of things I've been working on. My stand-up coach, Rob Emerson, we're working on a lot of really cool new technique with him, and I'm being able to land it much more consistently in practice. So I really want to showcase that. I want to show the world, like, hey, check this out. Like, he's going to catch my leg, and I'm going to jump, I'm going to spin in the air, I'm going to kick him with a back, a back kick. It's like you get very rarely do you get opportunities to pull a move off. I'm hoping to have those opportunities against Jason Jackson and pull off some moves I've been working on.
That's what we like to see. It's funny because you mentioned the painting thing, because Jason Jackson's painted some really good paintings along the way, but when it comes to being credited and being asked to paint that masterpiece, he just hasn't been able to do it yet. Like, he, by his own admittance, like when it comes to getting that big fight or getting that chance towards taking that next step forward, he's come up just short every single time. He knows it. It's something that he's spoken about. Is that going through and like studying up on him? Is that something you noticed, or is that something you don't really pay attention to?
No, I haven't paid that much attention to his career, so I haven't really noticed that about him. It's interesting. It is cool to hear him say that, to acknowledge that. I think for anyone to overcome a problem, they first have to recognize it. They first have to understand it. So for him to recognize that, to understand that, to say that, speaks a lot about him as a person, to recognize that as an athlete. But no, it wasn't something I was aware of, but something I intend on to keep on going for him.
You, like we said earlier, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time and you've seen it all at this point, but momentum is a big thing in mixed martial arts, especially even in like a team setting, like over at the lab. I mean, you guys have a ton of momentum right now. You got guys like Bautista, Kyler Phillips, Casey Kenny's been on this crazy run as of late. And I remember I was having this conversation with James Krause before his last fight, and he said that, when it comes to preparation, the vibe in the gym, that momentum makes everybody better, like everybody around him better. But then you get locked in the cage and none of that matters anymore. Is that how you look at it as well? And how is the vibe over at the lab these days with all the success you guys have been having?
The vibe of the lab has always been pretty strong, pretty good. We're always pretty consistent. We've learned from our coach, John Crouch, from myself, from all our veterans, we learned you can't really ride the roller coaster. You have some big wins. You can't be all, I'm on top of the world, because then you get a loss, and that loss brings you back down, Yeah, just not ride the roller coaster, just stay even keeled. Always consistently have great practice. Consistently, practice like, our mantra there is to be the hardest worker in the room. We have a room full of young killers out there, like, who don't have big names, or 4-0 or 3-0, or amateurs that are 2-0 as an amateur, but they work their butts off. They try and work every single day. They want to be the hardest worker in the room. They have myself, Jerry Cannonier, like you said, David Machad, Mario Bautista, and all these guys, these youngsters, trying to outwork us. Like, oh man, like, they're bringing it today. Let's go. We got to work that much harder, So. It's good. It's a good vibe in the room. We're always just trying to get better. We're all just trying to be the hardest worker in the room that day. Who's gonna be the hardest worker? You or me? Let's find out. So that vibe we have going at the gym. It's a great vibe. It's nice to have people who honestly care about you, care about your family, your kids, and not just be there to punch you in the face and get better at punching you in the face, and they're actually trying to help you get better, help your career, help you live your dreams. So it's really nice to have that. I couldn't be doing this if I didn't have my gym the way it is. I couldn't go to another gym and be a punching bag, or just be some guy and not have people I really care about, people that care about me. I couldn't do that.
From like a coaching perspective and a trainer perspective, are you excited to continue to see this evolution of the sport? Because now you're seeing kids like kids 12, 13 years old, they used to be like at our age, they used to play baseball, basketball, football. Now they're training, they're in jujitsu classes. Like I have a niece who started jujitsu when she was 7 years old and she loves it and she's like obsessed with it. So seeing these next wave of kids just coming through, by the time they're like in high school, they're like ready to go. That's just crazy, right? Like you've been part of this evolution for a while now.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I've been seeing the wave. I've been seeing the trend. I think it's great. You get a lot. It's about the love of athletes going into the sport. So throughout America for the past 100, 200 years, the top tier athletes from a younger age, 7, 8, 9, 10, they would choose to play baseball or football or basketball. All the best athletes would go do those sports, and then the third, fourth best athletes would do the next sports. They would choose baseball first. The best athletes would go to the football, and then they would choose baseball, and then they choose basketball, and then they choose soccer or whatever, going on. And then somewhere down the line, it'd be, guys left over or whatever. So now we're getting in actual martial arts, you're getting guys, instead of playing basketball, like you said, at a young age, instead of playing football, you get these kids that are monster just athletes at a young age. Like you can just tell like there's a difference of a natural athlete who plays football and picks it up right away and does amazing. Those guys, and instead of playing football, instead of playing basketball, they're spending that same time, the same hours, instead of dedicating it towards basketball or football or soccer or whatever, they're dedicating it towards jiu-jitsu or wrestling or MMA even itself, not even wrestling, jiu-jitsu, but MMA itself. And those guys are going to be scary when they get to be 18, 19, 20 years old and put it all together.
Plus, like the character development that martial arts presents, they're getting that at a young age. You're not coming in at 19, 20 years old with all this crazy life experience. They're like, it's almost like you're getting them from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
So you're about to join me in the illustrious 37 Club, Benson. We're recording this on Friday the 13th. So Monday, I believe, will be your birthday. So happy early birthday to you. And
thank you, man.
I was doing my research before. You performed pretty well on your birthday weeks. I think you're 2-1. The loss was the close.
Really?
Yeah. The loss was the first Chandler fight. That was such a ridiculous matchup. But do you make a big deal out of birthdays these days? Like I'm sure you do a little bit because you're a dad now, but is it just like another day for you, or do you use it as a day to like reflect a little bit? How is that for you?
Nah, yeah, my birthdays haven't been a big deal for me since for a long time. Maybe since I was 20 or so. Like I realized early on, like, hey, it's cool, like, yay, awesome birthday, but it's just another day, man. Like it is a day. Hopefully you do have some time to reflect, and hopefully you can spend your day doing stuff you love, doing something fun and cool. Like, going wild and crazy, but you enjoy just sitting down on the couch with your family and hanging out, and then, do that, have that be your celebration, But no, birthdays haven't been, my wife hates it. She always will do something big and crazy and have a big birthday party for me. But now she realizes, oh, you're boring. You're old. You were old at like 24. You didn't want to have a big old birthday party. You're boring. You're old. I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, how did I know this earlier? Yeah.
And you get to spend it in beautiful Uncasville, Connecticut.
Yes, amazing Uncasville. But I'll be there to go to work, get my hand raised, and then come home and hopefully have a nice chill celebration at home.
There you go. So how do you gift yourself this early birthday present? How do we get this done? I know you get some tricks up your sleeve, and is there a certain way you see this going down, or are we past that stage of your career?
No, just get my hand raised. Just do whatever it takes. Like, you never know which way a fight is going to take place. You never know if you think you've been scouting the whole time, guys stand traditional and they him out southpaw or vice versa, or whatever the case may be. So just go out there, get my hand raised, go do whatever it takes. If he turn into a boxing match, turn into a boxing match, turn into a jiu-jitsu match, turn into a jiu-jitsu match. Just go out there and get the job done. Go get your hand raised. Go do whatever it takes. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yeah, the last time we spoke, Bellator wasn't even running events. It was a while back, and they were running some programming, reliving past fights, and they've made a lot of moves since then. Now with CBS Sports Network, some interesting opportunities, some moves being made, and a lot of free agent and prospect signings along the way. Like, what have you made of all these changes and the approach Bellator's been taking over the last several months?
I think it's super awesome. I think it's great. I think it's smart. I think Scott Coker, Mike Hogan, all those guys, I think they're doing it the right way. They're building talent from the ground up. They know how to build talent. They know how to build some of the best, current day martial artists all came up under, DC. A lot of guys consider him to be the best martial artist ever, or, right now currently walking around. And, he came up under Scott Coker. Scott Coker built him, groomed him to be the man that he is, to have the wins that he does. And he had certain matchups along the way. He didn't give him a hardcore, dynamite, awesome striker when he was 2-0 or when he was 3-0. He said, hey, let's give you this guy. This is a good matchup for you. And they built Daniel Cormier into the fighter that he is. So Scott Coker definitely knows what he's doing. He knows how to get it done. I think the CBS deal is huge. I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. I think primetime television is the way to go. I think that's what you want to do. And I think that some big, huge things have been whispered in the backgrounds of the Bellator guys. So I'm waiting to hear. Can't wait to hear all the rest of things unfold next couple of months.
Did you watch the card last night?
No, I missed one last night. I saw the highlights. I saw some of the highlights, but I missed the card. I couldn't watch the whole thing. I got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 3-month-old. So I don't have a lot of time for any sort of TV watch. As soon as I get home, my real job starts when I get home.
Yes, I have a 7-year-old who's sitting right in front of me, nice and quiet, which is pretty.
Oh, nice, awesome.
Yeah, normally he tries to sneak in here, but he's watching something, so that's good. But I'm sure you saw Patricio Pitbull's knockout, the highlight of that, knocking out Pedro Carvalho. I mean, you do have a victory over him, and since then, this guy's been on a mission, double champ, etc. What have you made of his surge, man?
I think he's doing great. He's one of those guys who's a consummate professional. He's a true pro. He's not too much of a trash talker either. I love that. I'm not a big fan of trash talkers. I can't stand trash talkers. So I have a lot of respect for Patricio, because normally he doesn't talk too much smack unless someone says something to him first. He didn't really talk too much smack or anything. So I like that a lot. He's just a true pro. He always goes in, he busts his butt, he works hard, goes to his fights, he shows up. I think he's a true professional. When I say true professional, I use that as a compliment to younger guys. Like, oh man, you're really becoming a true vet. Yeah, good job. You show up to practice after a hard loss. You show up to the gym on Monday. You lose on Saturday. You don't have any injuries. You show up to the gym on Monday, ready to get better, ready to work out, ready to improve. You have a huge win. As a true professional, as a true vet, hey, I got to get back in the gym. I got to get better. The youngsters are already watching the film on that, and they're already dissecting it. The smart coaches, a lot of smart coaches in MMA, those coaches are already breaking down that my last performance, always looking for holes in my game, how to beat me. So a true professional, true vet has a big, huge win on Saturday. And guess what? He's back in the gym on Monday. So I use that true pro as the biggest compliment as I can give. I think Patricio is a true pro, and I think he's reaping a lot of rewards now from all the hard work.
Well, I think it's fair to say that you are a true pro as well, Benson. Always appreciate the time, man. Big fight coming up on Thursday. Again, happy birthday. All the best to you on Thursday night, and pleasure as always, sir. Benson Henderson back at it tonight. Bellator 253 co-main event matchup at 170 pounds with Jason Jackson. That is the co-main event, and what an opportunity for Jason Jackson. He's gotten a lot of opportunities, very talented guy. He knows that he's gotten opportunities, but for some reason, different varying reasons, he just hasn't been able to get over that hump. Maybe tonight is the night. If he can get a win over Benson Henderson tonight, that'll be massive for him. So make sure you check out that event. Main event is just sick. It's so good. Darrion Caldwell versus AJ McKee, CBS Sports Network. I know what I'm going to be doing tonight. I'm watching that. I cannot wait to see how that fight plays out. During this big week in the world of mixed martial arts, we get ready to wrap up What the Heck this week. Some news and notes. Let's get to a couple things, trying to get my brain working here. Oh, yes, Combate, Brazilian news outlet Combate reported that the welterweight title fight between Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns has been agreed upon for UFC 258 on February 13th. I am told that is the plan. It is not done yet, but that is trending in the right direction. Same card also added Chris Weidman versus Uriah Hall. That is good to go for February 13th. And another on to the next one selection. I know AK just introduced a new segment called Check the Tapes on to the next one, where we kind of prove our theories that our picks came true. I have to be up at least a touchdown right now on AK in terms of how many of my picks from on to the next one became reality compared to his. And how about January 16th, Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar in the main event? A++ matchmaking right there. Good fight for Max. It's been a while since we've seen him in a fight that didn't have any kind of title implications. Kind of takes the pressure off of him without having a championship in play. And also, huge fight for Calvin Kattar. Well-deserved. I love it. I cannot wait for January 16th. That's a good one. Fabricio Werdum signed with the Professional Fighters League after a brief stint into the free agency world after he defeated Alexander Gustafsson. So good on him. He's going to try to win that $1 million. Kayla Harrison, also from the PFL. She returns to action tomorrow night for Invicta in the co-main event. Invicta FC 43. So there you go. Like I said, a lot going on in the sport. One more interview to get to, but just want to give a big thank you and shout out to all of you watching this or listening to the sound of my voice right now. 34 episodes in the books. And I feel like we're just getting started right now. So thank you. Really appreciate it. Of course, we'll have all your UFC 255 coverage throughout the rest of the week and weekend. Our friend Jose Young's out in Vegas right now. Weigh-in and preview show tomorrow, Friday. All the post-fight chats, post-fight show, etc. on Saturday. So keep it locked to MMAfighting.com. Big shout out to Casey Lyden on the production. Jose Young's, Alex Savis on the graphics. Bugging them every day. Appreciate them coming through as always. So have a heck of a week, everybody. Enjoy the fights. We'll leave you with my chat with the victorious Ashley Yoder from this past weekend's UFC Vegas 14 event. See you later. All right, we have Ashley Yoder joining us following her unanimous decision win over Miranda Granger this past Saturday night at UFC Vegas 14. Welcome back to the show and the win column, Ashley. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, definitely a relief to be back in the win column for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the last time we spoke was before the Lavinia Souza fight, and obviously that fight didn't go your way, but, you know, coming into a fight, losing back-to-back appearances, how important was it for you to walk out of Las Vegas, come home with a victory under your belt?
I think it was underestimated to say that it was very important. It was super important to me, and, you know, I think it kind of reflected in the beginning performance of kind of playing a little too safe more than I'd like. Not my best performance to date, but I feel like it's just one of those things in the back of your head. You're trying to not lose position and sacrifice any points, you know. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to be able to have that kind of relief off my shoulders for getting back into the win column. So it's nice.
Did you feel any extra pressure at all? Like, I know a fight is a fight and there's enough pressure just going in there to fight, but did you have any sort of extra lying pressure on you, that knowing that maybe your back was against the wall losing 2 straight?
You know, I've just had a rough, running so far. So I think on myself maybe, but, you know, every day we have to prove ourselves, win or loss in the UFC. So I think it was just more for myself, kind of getting that win back in my sails. So
Miranda came into the UFC undefeated from the tri-state area, won her debut. She's lost her last 2. Finisher for sure, but she seemed... You know, you seem to be ready for everything that she brought to the table, able to sort of stalemate everything she tried to bring forth to you. Did anything surprise you at all in the fight from Miranda?
No, not at all. I think for my personal self and my performance, I was holding back a lot on like some of the scrambles. I think I was trying to get more of a solid position, so it was kind of like not my style, and I like to grapple, I like to roll around like a, you know, I mean, I don't get called the spider monkey for nothing, so but yeah, no, she was a super sweet, very tough opponent. You know, she's as the first person I've fought in 115 that's bigger than me. I'm like, how are you bigger than me? Like, you know, she's very skinny. I'm not talking big in that sense. We're all small, but like just her shoulders were bigger. You know, she was just bigger than me. So I was very surprised by that. You know, I thought we'd be, I mean, we're pretty close, but it was just weird because I'm usually the big one, like always towering people. So
the switch seemed to flip in the 3rd round. You became much more aggressive. You were very, very close to getting that first UFC finish that you've been looking for so long. What was the conversation like in your corner between the 2nd and 3rd rounds?
It was a little bit of like, you know, them just saying it could be 1-1, which I knew it was 1-1. in my mind. And, at that point I was like, I think a switch hit, like, you got to leave it out there. You have to show them you want to be here. And it was more, I think, an internal, like, all right, we got to do this. I really have to just like make a stamp on that third round. And I wish I would have done it earlier. The capabilities were there to do it earlier. I just, I got my trust back, I think, after that fight, feeling like good in those positions and being able to handle myself and just kind of be present in the moment really helped. So, yeah, that third round, I was just like, I'm leaving it all out here. So, yeah,
it's to sort of build upon that. You and I have spoken quite a bit over the years, and you've said many times that, you're still relatively new to the sport. It's not like you were a lifelong martial artist. Like, you're continuing to evolve. Like, you even said it after the fight. Like, you are the definition of MMA. Like, you're very technical. You're implementing new tools to your game. And I'm curious about this because I'm not a fighter, which is why I'm asking this question, because obviously the technique is there. The athleticism is obviously there. Do you feel like at certain points in these fights that you have a hard time, and there are fighters that I've talked to over the years that have felt this way, do you feel like you have difficulty tapping into that sort of dark side, that aggressive side? Like, from the outside looking, yeah. I mean, we saw it in the third round, but, do you feel like that's a place that's a bit difficult to find once you're in there?
No, I think, to start off it is. To answer your question in absolutes, I think coming into a fight, the very first round is always rough, just because you're trying to get the fill out process. You're trying to be on your game and understand if this person's going to do what you kind of game planned for, or are they just going to throw something crazy out of nowhere. So it's a very unknown kind of area in that first round. And the first exchanges, how hard does this person punch? What's their head movement like? Those little things. You have so many things going through your head. But at the same time, I think like that third round, like, if it's capable in the third round, it's definitely capable in the first. So it's one of those things that, like, now I have that kind of, all right, we're not fighting for our lives at this point, so I feel like I can go in there and be myself. And I feel newer in the fact that, like, going into this fight, I felt my weight cut was perfect. Like, everything, I slept before the fight for the first time. Like, my last fight, I did not sleep the night before. So it was such an amazing feeling to have those good things go by, and going all the way up into the fight. And even the last minute, like, they're like, I thought there was an extra fight in between before I had to go out. And they're like, no, you're going now. So normally that would kind of throw me off, but I was fine with it. So I feel like, as like over the years that I've had a lot of fights in the UFC, I've had, but I'm still learning. So it's kind of weird to kind of talk to someone that doesn't understand that. They're like, what do you mean? You've had 8 fights in the UFC now, 2 on the Ultimate Fighter, so I'm experienced on that side of, like, having higher level, but I'm still trying to understand myself as an athlete too, because I never did team sports. I swam, I did track, but nothing like in collegiate level or even high school level that really required to understand yourself, so.
What was that like to just feel like that on a Saturday night? Like, nothing threw you off, you felt good, weight cut was good, you slept? I mean, sleeping the night before, that not a lot of fighters could say that.
Dude, 9 hours.
9 hours?
9 hours. That is like a record for me. So, compared to my last fight, it's day and night difference. You don't have those, like, I was doing everything that the UFC protocols for the Performance Institute has us when we rehydrate. I followed it this time to a T, and I felt so much better than and I don't have rough weight cuts, but 10 pounds is 10 pounds. So, you cut I walk around at like 125, I still have to cut down to 115. So, it's never the easiest. It's more uncomfortable than anything, but everything just was like, my stomach was feeling good, so it was just it was a really good experience, and it gave me like even more kind of fuel in my fire to be like, we can do that. This is a possible of a feeling, like, you could feel good. You just have to kind of have your right mindset about it and do the right, and just be smart about it.
You were so close to that finish. You wanted to get one in there so badly. Like, every interview we've had, I want to get that first finish. I want to get that first finish. How bummed were you when you heard that horn sound when you had that choke locked in?
Man, it was heartbreaking. But the smart thing for me was, in my last fight, I got overzealous of trying to get it to the ground and jumping on it back, falling off, getting bad position. And even though there was a lot of things that I did wrong on my grappling in this fight. The thing that I was like most proud of my whole fight, seeing an armbar multiple times, and I didn't, the last round especially, I felt like she was like, take my arm, but literally I was like, I don't want to lose position. So it made me feel good going out after the fact that like I didn't sacrifice a submission attempt at that point for position, especially when the rounds were kind of close. So I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, I saw that I wanted this armbar so bad, and it was like, just keep working, it will open up itself. And it's true. So I think that it gives me confidence too, to know I get those positions all the time in practice, and then you go into the UFC, and I started my career with all finishes, and not getting those, it kind of also takes the energy and wind out of your sails. But I feel like after this fight, I have a new fire, and I really feel like it's going to change a lot of things in my future. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I was going to say, because, I mean, the Sayuri Kondo fight, I mean, you made women's strawweight history. You got 30-24s on the scorecards. First time that ever happened in that weight class. But I feel, after talking to you after that fight, compared to talking to you after this fight, I feel like you took more away from this one than you did the 30-24 fight.
I did, and I kept trying to bring myself back to what was my mindset? What was so good that I felt? And, at the end of the day, it was going into the fight, the locker room vibes were just there. That's the only thing I can remember from that fight that was like beforehand, that was like going smoothly. And I kept trying to like, oh, okay, so like, I can get there again. But I feel like the Sayuri Kondo fight was a huge peak on what I'm capable of, and I've only gotten better since then. And I'm just ready to really like get back in there and show the world that like I'm meant to be in the UFC, so I'm excited. Not happy with my performance, but I'm excited.
What would you grade your performance overall?
Gosh, a C.
Really? Have you gone back and watched it?
Yeah.
How many times?
Yeah, maybe even a C-. Only once right now. Trying to, like, my coaches got on to me because, it is a huge thing. I go through a lot. I've had a lot of losses this year. Like really close friends passing, and it's just I've had a lot on myself, so I need to embrace this win and for what it is. It wasn't that it was a robbery. It wasn't, there's always things to be worked on. So I do understand that. It's just I'm a perfectionist, man. I want to get this finish. I want to get these wins. I want to show, I want to be the potential Ashley that I know I can be. So I'm just striving for that every time.
You were fired up after the fight. You were bleeped from ESPN Plus. You're dropping F-bombs in the post-fight scrub. I was like,
I try not to. The thing is, I'm around guys a lot. So even Dana in the back's like, you can cuss as much as you want. And then they're like, dude, how many F-bombs were you saying? I was like, I think I only said like maybe 2 or 3, but I don't know. They were just bleeping me out like no other. I heard it was really funny.
I was shocked. I was shocked, Ashley. I'm not gonna lie.
Like, she's a nice girl. Why is she? My parents are probably so upset. I'm mortified now. Yeah, I didn't mean, I was fired up. I had a lot of emotions going, I was going into this fight. Like one of our really good, one of my teammates just passed this week on Wednesday, and it was a sudden thing that we weren't expecting. So it was, another thing to add to the list. I've dealt with a lot of death in my life, unfortunately, and just trying to keep that focus on the task at hand. But I think it was really important to me after the fight to acknowledge, the loss of anyone that is going on right now and how important it is to seek help. So, yeah, that's basically where I was at, plus trying to be not cussing, but it just didn't.
I mean, sometimes the emotion just come out. One thing you mentioned in the post-fight scrum is that you I didn't even know you had a mental coach. You talked about mental coaching and how important that is, and I'm sure with a lot of things that you've dealt with in the past, and just fighting and trying to get better and you can get in your own head. Like, how pivotal has that been for you to work with a mental coach to prepare you for a fight and other things that happen?
Well, better late than never. I probably should have got one a million years ago, but even just for the losses of my family members. But, for me, it was a blessing. I did reach out for help actually after my Singapore fight, and it didn't work out. It was a bad situation. And then I just decided after this fight, like I literally hired Brian I was probably not even home from Vegas at the time yet. I'm like, I'm serious about this. I know this is what's holding me back. I got to fix this. So, it takes a lot to do that. You know, it's very humbling when you have to tell someone that, you know, like I try to put this facade up that I'm really tough in the gym because I'm the only girl. You know, they don't see me cry. They don't see some of my coaches see me behind the doors, you know, see me break down, but I keep a lot of this stuff. I shut it out, and it's definitely not the healthiest way. But yeah, Brian's been a blessing, and he's someone that's worked with guys in the, you know, GSP, Rich Franklin, Don Cerrone back in the day. You know, he's worked with these guys that have done amazing things in the UFC. So I'm very blessed to work with him, and he's treats me no less or no more than anybody else. So I'm very grateful.
That's great. Pretty smooth night in a lot of ways for you on Saturday, but one thing that was not so smooth was the judging and the scoring in particular throughout the night. Bruce Buffer is reading off the scores, 30-26, 29-27, and then he says 27-26. I mean, you had to have felt that when you heard 30-26 and 29-27 that you probably had won the fight, but when you heard 27-26, what the heck is going on in your mind?
I was like, is that even a possible score? I wasn't even sure. I was like, what is going on? I did, you know, I knew that I went into that fight I knew going in third round I was 1-1. And I feel like being in top position and pretty much almost attempting a submission at the end of the third, solidified that round for me. So yeah, I was like, not a draw. What is going on here? I'm like trying to do math, and I'm not a math major, man. I just got punched in the face. I was like, I can't think right now. But yeah, it was definitely, man, I'm just not the person to be really putting any faith in any judge, which no one should. But I feel like I'm definitely not.
One of the things you've wanted to do over the last couple of years, you want to stay active. You know, 3 months between fights this time. That's a nice sort of change of pace for you. But I know with all these conversations, there's like two paths that you like to take. One is, you know, staying in the gym, improving, learning. The other is just getting back in there and getting as many fights as possible. What do you feel is sort of your next move? Do you want to try and get back in there quickly? Maybe get another one in this year, early next year? What are you thinking in that front?
You know, I want to go home. I get to go home once a year. If it wasn't Christmas right now, heck yeah, call me next week. You know, I'd be so down. I'm not injured. There aren't any stitches. So I'm blessed on that side of it. But I only get to go home and see my parents once a year. So I keep that in December. So yeah, hopefully I'm thinking like February, mid-February. My coach goes out into Brazil as well for the first time. He has been home in a long time, so he's my main man. So as much as I do want a quick turnaround, if it was before December 17th, call me. But I want to go home and see my family. I need to do that, especially with the times that are going on right now. So as long as the travel restrictions don't tighten up anymore in the next couple weeks, hopefully I'm going to go home for 2 weeks and then come back and early in the year get another fight.
One thing I kind of realized, and I know it wasn't necessarily supposed to be this way because there were so many switch ups and cancellations heading into Saturday. First main card fight in the UFC.
Yeah. You know, I found that out probably the same time you did. Actually, they kept telling me, hey, your report time's 1, your report time's 1:30, your report time's 3:30. I was like, okay. So we get over there and he's like, you're like the third to last fight. I'm like, what? And I honestly thought in the back I had 2 more fights before I had to go. So one of my corners is actually coaching another fighter that was fighting. So it was a little bit chaotic in the back because it went from like 0 to here, like real fast. Like, all right, you're going. I'm like, all right, let's go. So it was a little bit intense. Yeah, I'm definitely excited. You know, for me, I just want the most exposure as possible. If that's an undercard, ESPN, like I just want to fight. I want to be able to reach out and, you know, get new fans to be like, hey, you know, women's MMA is legit, you know, or, you know, just get that new fan base for the UFC and for female fighters. So wherever I can get the most exposure.
There's a new teammate of yours in the UFC right now, right? Jared Vanderaa is one of your teammates, right?
Yes, sir. And he is a stud. We actually share my birthday that I celebrate and his birthday are on the same day. So he's a good.
He is, and it was nice to see him get his shot because a lot of people felt like he should have got this call a little bit earlier than he did. What was that like for you to watch him go out there, get a finish, and make it happen like that?
Well, it made me really excited. I'm 100% behind you on that. I think Jared's needs the opportunity to be in the UFC a long time ago. Especially heavyweights. This guy is an athlete, not just a heavyweight. So, and he likes to fight. So why not? And I had the opportunity to be able to connect him with my agency, and things happen. And, he did the work to get himself there. He performed and he got his contract, rightfully so. So I was just really excited to be able to kind of connect those two together so he could make his magic happen. So I'm very excited for him. It's really, really, it's a great thing. He's got a little family he's starting and the gym he's picked up. So I'm grateful for that.
I interviewed Jared once last year, and it was like almost a 50-minute interview because the man likes to talk. It's pretty funny. And on the Contender Series, I don't understand what about his self-confidence. He called himself ugly in his interviews with Laura Sanko like 11 times. Like, does he do that in the gym too, or?
Oh, we don't ever really talk about looks, but he is an interesting character, but he is like a through and through, like I think he's just a specimen for that weight class, man. He's a big boy, but he can move. So he does paint his fingernails sometimes, which I've always wondered about that, but I've never really asked. So.
Well, there you go. Well, we'll find out more about Jared Vanderaa on December 12th. Makes his UFC debut, gets the call out that he wanted. Sergey Spivak, he's going to get that. But as far as you go, congratulations on the win, Ashley. You had to dig deep. You got it done. So close to that first finish in the octagon, but maybe in the next one it'll happen for you. But thank you for the time as always, and all the best to you. Happy holidays.
You're listening to the Vox Media Podcast Network.